Hi friends, I'm Ellen Gormley and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing tapestry crochet and I've taken this little motif item from Carol Ventura's second book on the topic that I'm aware of anyway, More Tapestry Crochet. And so this book was written in 2002 and I was lucky enough to snag a copy off of eBay. It's an old library version of the book, and so I am just so glad to have it. But anyway, if you're lucky enough to pick one up, it's very, very useful for right and left-handers. All the tips and history of tapestry crochet, lots of different patterns and motifs and cultural comments. Carol has, on page 70 of this book, an eyeglass case pattern. And so I was just going to take the motif from it and teach you a little bit more about tapestry crochet. And this is the little color picture of the tapestry crocheted eyeglass case. So, and I have my little swatch. So I made a little swatch in rounds and I made two little, I don't know what these are, deers, dogs, llamas, I don't know. But let's make them together. I'll be using the stitch diagrams, which is more of a chart because they're all single crochet. And I really did not even look at the written instructions, although you absolutely can. So what I am doing today is taking an an H size hook. I'm going down a hook size because for tapestry crochet, I like the stitches to be a little bit tighter than normal so that you don't see the yarn as it is carried around. So it's reversible, pretty reversible. I mean, you can see that this is the wrong side, but it still looks really great. So turn it right back to the right side out. Chain 30 and join to the first chain to form a cylinder. Okay, so take care not to twist your foundation chain. I'm going to chain about 30, I think. 3, 4, 5, 30. I'm just thinking, do I really want to do 30? This is probably enough. It doesn't have to be exact. This is just our practice piece. So what's happening here is you can look at a grid like this, square over square, and this is what it would look like if you charted it out on graph paper. But as you can see from my swatch and from this slanted graph representation, that the stitches are more rounded at the bottom and more squared off at the top. And as a right-hander, it's going to slant to the right, and as a left-hander, your work is going to slant to the left. We are working in a cylinder. You could go back and forth in turned rows, but it's kind of tricky and, you know, it doesn't quite look right. It kind of jogs. So often she will either do it in rounds or in a cylinder, or will work right-handed for one row, not turn and work back with the other hand the other way so that all of the right sides are all together on the same way. Let's get started. So when you have your chain of whatever in this practice piece, I'm making sure not to twist my beginning chain. I'm just going to go ahead and make a cylinder by linking the first stitch to the last chain, the first chain to the last chain. I'm going to go ahead and single crochet and grab a locking stitch marker. Place the locking stitch marker in the very first stitch of the round. You now know that you will move the marker for the first stitch of every round. I'm going to do just single crochet in the first round. So I am single crocheting through the top 2 loops there of the chain. You could also do the back ridge, back bump, back bar like I often like to, but then it gets a little, and I did here, but it gets a little uneven when you like join. But it's okay. It's fine. You'll like it. So whichever method you prefer is absolutely fine. I'm reversing the color for this swatch just because I think it'll make a cute little visual when I'm done. Today I'm using Paint Box yarn for the lighter yarn, and I'm using Brava worsted weight for the darker. I just liked the 2 colors together, and it reminded me kind of like a giraffe. And even at first I thought, oh, maybe I should make the neck taller to make it a giraffe. but we're going to just go with the original little four-legged creature here. Maybe it's a dog. I don't know. Look, it could be a cat, but its nose is kind of square, so it kind of reminds me of a Scotty dog, sort of. I don't know. What do you think? Okay, so I'm just single crocheting one in each chain. I like to have like a solid row before I start the pattern. And I'm just improvising so that I can teach you this set. This little motif that can be repeated. You can then apply this little unit to a scarf or a sweater, or be an adorable pocket on a little girl's dress or a little boy's cardigan. So you can do it, or you can make it an all over pattern like the eyeglass case was, where there were lots of them in an all over pattern. Okay, so now that I'm completing round one and giving myself this nice foundation of a solid color for the first row, I am going to follow. Both of these are accurate. So if I spend the first stitch of the round, so my marker is in the first stitch of the round I am going to make in the main color. In this case, the gray on this diagram is going to be my main color, which is going to be the terracotta. You would single crochet, and then already we'll be switching color. So as I have inserted my hook into the first stitch of the round where the marker had been, I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, but I'm going to pull through with the other color, with my contrasting color. And this will be the body of the creature. So I am just going to hold the yarn on the back of the work and yarn over and pull through that single crochet with the new yarn. Now I will do the first one stitch, like you got to kind of tie up your tension just a little bit and work over your tails. So I'm holding the tails on the back of the work. I'm going to pull up my loop. This will count as the first stitch here, this white one at the bottom. It's exactly the same. One is just how you would graph it out on graph paper, and then she has whole pages of this kind of scalloped OG paper, or almost like an OG, rounded at the bottom, scales almost, so that it shows a more accurate representation of how the stitches look when they're made. Okay, so the contrasting color is this stitch here, but we're going to switch to the main color then for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. So as I have begun the contrasting color stitch, that's all I need to do, because when I yarn over and pull through, that stitch is completed, and I can now begin the next 5 with the main color. 1, 2, 3, and I will continue to work over the tail of the peach and also the working yarn of the peach, both of them. I'll work over both of them because I need to carry the orange or the peach along with me so that it will be available to use when I'm ready for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then one more. And instead of finishing this one, I will insert the hook, yarn over, pull a loop through the fabric, and now I will switch back to the peach for this peach stitch here. So yarn over and pull through. So we can double check our work and say, okay, here's, oh, I forgot to put my marker in that first stitch. Put the marker in the first stitch. Always move it on the first stitch of this little piece. The first stitch is the terracotta, first stitch here. Second stitch is the peach. Second stitch is the peach. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the terracotta. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the terracotta. 1 in the peach. And here's the one that I'm doing in the peach next. Okay, here we go. But I'm only doing one of them, so I'm ready to pull up with the terracotta for the next 2 stitches. Okay. Now on this little practice swatch here on my right on the table, on the left for you lefties, I actually went ahead and did 2 of them. I just left a couple spaces. Make sure you leave enough space for the nose and then you can start a new one. So if I were to start a new one, I'm going to just keep going with the main color for a few minutes, for a few stitches. Make sure 1 for 1, 1 stitch in 1 stitch. We're not increasing or decreasing in this example. So I'm just going to give myself a little cushion of stitches, and then when I'm ready to start the next unit, the next full repeat, I'm going to do this again. So I'll do one stitch in the main color and immediately get ready to do the second stitch in the peach. And I'm not moving the marker because the marker is for the beginning of the round, not the beginning of the repeat. Although if you want to do that, you can, or you can put a second marker if you want. And then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're basically repeating the repeat across. So from now on, I'm not going to show you the second one on the back as I'm going. I'll probably just fast forward through that section, and only show you each row one time. But that is what you would do if you wanted to do multiple of them. Now you can imagine you could do a whole tote bag very wide. You could do a whole wide cylinder of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then I'll just finish the round in the main color till I get to the next row. Now the 3, 4, 5, 6 on up on this particular diagram is because it corresponds with the written instructions for the eyeglass case. But in this instance, since I'm just teaching you the little motif, this is actually row 2 because I just did one row of solid underneath, and row 2, this is row 2, 3, 4 on up. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's not critical that we follow those. And really, I have found following the chart visually is easier. So I'm like, oh, 1, 2, 3 rows of this, and then the belly comes for 1, 2, 3 rows, and then, I've got 4 there in between, so it's kind of, I do it more relatively, like how do these stitches look in relation to one another? Okay, so at the end of the round, I know I'm at the end of the round because I'm at my marker. That's the first stitch here. The first stitch is the main color. And so I will remove the marker. I will switch to the peach. Go ahead and let them twist behind if you need to. Okay, we're stacking the peaches on top of each other here. And then back to the terracotta for the 5 stitches. Also, go ahead and replace your marker in the first stitch of the round so that you can keep track. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until we get to the other front leg. Okay, and we'll stop just short of where we want the peach stitch to go. We'll complete the stitch with the peach and then do the stitch right on top of it next by inserting the hook, pulling up a loop through the fabric, but then we'll yarn over, and look at this carefully. The stitch is already done, but when I yarn through with the terracotta and pull through, you can see now I am all set for the next stitch. So while it looks like I didn't complete the peach stitch, I in fact did. It's just I'm pulling through and getting ready for the next stitch. So here we come again. It's time to change color again. I'm going to finish this last terracotta stitch. It's all set up. I want another peach one on top of that peach one, so I'm going to drop the terracotta, tension the peach, pull the peach through, insert the hook within the peach spot, yarn over, pull up a loop. That stitch is finished. Drop the peach, pick up the terracotta, yarn over and pull through, and you can see now that you have a peach stitch on top of a peach stitch. As I am now starting round 4, I'd like to point out that when reading these charts, when you're working in a cylinder and there's no turning, I'm always reading the diagram the way I'm working. So it's not like when you're turning and you work this way and then you read the diagram this way and then you read the diagram this way when you turn again and you turn again and read the diagram this way. When we're working in a cylinder or a spiral, you're always working in the same direction. So when I finish this round, I'm back to here and I go this way, and then I'm back to here and I go this way because I've come all the way around the circle. Do you see what I'm saying? So it goes all the way around. Okay, and let's see. Let me get through this next round and I'll show you a little bit more. I should not have pulled through that last stitch because I'm ready to switch colors to the terracotta. Because I see there's 1, 2, 3 of the peach before I go to the body of the animal. So I need 3 stacked on top of each other before. So really this is so simple. You're just following the diagram along, and then it's kind of like cross stitching, not cross stitching. Is that the right word? Yeah, cross stitch, like counted cross stitch, where you're keeping track of where things are in relation to the other stitches. So when I look at the example that I did here, you can see that it matches this. So I had 1, 2, 3 of the leg, 1, 2, 3 of the leg. Then I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the body, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 before I switched stitches and went back to the main color. And then you see the body was 3 rows tall, 1, 2, 3, and I did 1, 2, 3. Okay, then the tail is, you're just following exactly along. And if it helps you, you might want to make your swatch in gray and white. By making your swatch in gray and white, then you may not get as visually confused about where the stitches go. Or another idea is this swatch, I made the lighter color representing the gray and the darker color representing the white. So if you think it would be easier to not get visually confused, then keep the tones the same. Make the darker color the gray and make the lighter color the white squares. So I hope you've had fun with this little introduction to tapestry crochet. Please check out my other videos on color work and being more colorful. And this is a nice way to learn how to read tapestry charts too. So take a good look at this, maybe take a little screenshot, and go check out Carol Ventura's books, Tapestry Crochet and More Tapestry Crochet by Carol Ventura. I will see you in the next video. Keep stitching.